So over the course of the few months that I was in San Pedro already, I had forgotten Fentanyl. It was not on my mind. Jenny and Connor were on my mind every day. I wrote Jenny some letters. They would let me use the phone at one point, and I rang her, and she told me that she had met somebody else. I wasn't as sad as I thought it would be, to be honest. We had, literally, parted ways when we were over there, and I was just basically, waiting for the time that she told me that she had met somebody else. Okay, it wasn't serious. They weren't sleeping together. So she told me, and I had no reason not to believe her. And that she would come and see me in Belize. She would come out, and I says, right, give me a couple of months. I'll save up some money and I'll bring you out, and you can have a look around and see if you'd like it. She wouldn't bring Connor because Connor was still only young, and it would have been a very, very long flight. I think Connor was probably about a year old at the time, going on a year and a half maybe, and he would stay with Jenny's mum and dad. So yeah, I went into town a few times on my own, quite a few times on my own, and people got to know me. They got to know me as Dave's cousin, not Colin. Dave's cousin was how they described me. And I met a few dickheads, met a few local guys, dickheads. I started shaving my head because I didn't really have much hair anyway. To be honest, I started going bald in my late 20s, and I didn't give a shit because my hair was always crew cut anyways. So I started going bald, and I just shaved my head. And I remember getting tackled by two local guys who called me a peelhead. Now, I had no fucking clue what that meant, and I was on Dave's quad, or Sue's quad, going into town, running some messages, taking some money to the bank for Sue to put into the restaurant's account, etc., and running some other errands, picking up bits and pieces, dropping off messages and this type of stuff, just generally helping out where I could. And these two fucking guys, when I came out of the post office, were sitting on the quad, and it was opposite the police station, which was only a tiny room, a little jail cell, and the local basketball court. And these two guys were sitting on the quad, and local people did that. They sat on, if you had a golf cart and you left it, you come back, you'd have 2 or 3 people sitting in the golf cart, and people generally didn't mind it, you know what I mean? And I just says, like, guys, you need to move, you're on the quad and stuff. And one guy just basically kissed his teeth at me, and just fucking folded his arms like this, and just fucking told me to move on. He wasn't moving. So the switch in my head went tilt, and I just says, I'm this Dave's quad, and you're gonna have to go. And this guy just kind of sat there, and he called me a rasclat peelhead, or whatever that meant at the time. And I didn't tell him a second time. I pushed forward and I hit him in the throat, banged him in the throat, and he fell back off against the wall, and he wasn't too happy about it. And then the other guy was a guy called Oliver, and I didn't realise that Oliver was trained by David. And Oliver was a nice kid. He obviously didn't know me like he knew David, and Oliver was kind of surprised. And he was a big guy, a big handsome kid, 22, 23, and he immediately jumped, kind of got up, and he looked at the guy on the ground, and my eyes were just set on him. I was going to bite lumps out of him, and he says, "Oh, no problem." And all he had to fucking do was get off the bike. Again, I wasn't used to anybody down there. I wasn't used to the way things were. I wasn't having anybody, fucking say things to me that I didn't understand, because to me everything was kind of like a threat. And this guy, the way he pulled his arms up like a local gangster, and David told me that that's how a lot of the guys would be, especially, if you were white and you were new, they would kind of test you. Well, at that particular time, he just tested the wrong person, and I hit him in the windpipe anyway. Not hard, but just enough for him to take notice. And his name was Patrick, the guy that I had pushed. his name was Pat, and he got up anyway, and he was holding his neck and everything. I jumped on the quad, and off I went. A couple of the local people seen it. Paul, the guy from Tarzan, saw it. I didn't mention anything to Dave, because I didn't know if Dave would flip out, do his fruit, fucking lose his bap, or, you know, whatever. I never mentioned anything. I didn't mention nothing to Sue. And so that was it. That was another introduction to somebody that I didn't know, and how they were. And I just got on with my day. And got on with my day, and just, you know, went into Dave's house and studied a bit more. Went on a couple more dives with Richie. Richie allowed me to start leading dives, which was very good of him. Richie would give me a slate with a briefing on it, and I'd get people on the boat, and I would say, you know, please guys, don't be doing this in the water, make sure of this, make sure of that, stay together. You know, this the depth of the dive will be, if you want to get your dive slates out, and check that the dive times are right and the minutes underwater are right, and all this type of stuff. And so I started leading dives. Richie was a great little, you know, help. If I did something wrong, he was like Dave. Richie would show me. He wouldn't, you know, fucking kick off and how many times have I showed you? Richie would show me, and he was very, very patient, because obviously he went through the same thing. Life was brilliant. Life was absolutely bliss down there. I was living my best life. Couldn't believe it. I used to wake up every day and just be thankful of the chance that David gave me to go and live in a place like that. And, you know, it was unreal. It was just absolutely brilliant. I couldn't believe it. And I started making friends. They started getting to know me. They would ask me how the diving was going, and how, you know, what did I think of San Pedro, you know, all this type of stuff. And people were genuinely really, really nice. And I was like a pig in shit. I was in heaven. The dives piled in. The training for me learning to do the dive master was intense. I'd passed it. Dave still tested me nearly every time we went out by asking me questions about depths, ascending, descending, what was the difference, the pressures in a dive tank, what the dive tanks were made of, when were they stamped, when were they tested, you know. Dave taught me how to service the scuba gear, new O-rings, silicone gel sealing, you know, doing new tubes, doing new fittings, male and female fittings, all this type of stuff. He taught me everything. We flew to Belize City a couple of times over to see Sue's relatives in another big restaurant, which was called the Golden Dragon, which is in Belize City. We went, you know, shopping. You know, Dave would always pick up and buy me stuff, buy me something. And it was always a great day out with Dave. And it was an excuse for Dave, basically, to get away from Sue, and to get somewhere else for the day. And I didn't actually realize that Dave also had a little daughter in Belize, to another girl called Ruby. And I didn't know that until probably a couple of months more later, that Dave took me to see his daughter Sarah. And yeah, loads of things were beginning to happen. And yeah, life was absolutely brilliant.